autistic today, genius tomorrow. You can't be autistic and a genius. Like, you're gonna have a change. There's gonna be a shift. Don't worry, I'll shed the autism soon. So I've reacted on this channel to a lot of actually autistic memes made by autistic people for other autistic people to relate to and feel attacked by. I was searching for a quote about autism the other day for something that I'm working on, and I ended up stumbling down a rabbit hole that I didn't mean to, of inspirational autism quotes. Mostly seem to be created for parents of autistic children, and yeah, what I saw made me have a little chuckle, so I thought it might be quite funny to react to them with you. I just want to say I do not mean to be mean in this video, and if you find any of these quotes, and maybe I will, if you find any of these quotes inspiring or helpful, that is cool. That is completely fine, you know? Like, one man's cringe is another man's treasure, as they say. I know a lot of the time these things will have been made with good intentions, but yeah, I don't necessarily agree with the messaging of some of what I saw. As far as I can tell, these were just put together on a list by a journalist who I don't think is autistic or has autistic children, but she may very well, I don't know. Number 1, children with autism are angels who lost their way to heaven and fell down on earth. Obviously, a lot of autistic people would prefer to use language like autistic children rather than children with autism, seeing it less as an ailment and more just, you know, the way our brains are wired, the way we are. It's completely fine if you prefer to phrase it the other way. That is cool if you're an autistic person and you prefer that. What the hell does this mean? Like, what does it mean? They're angels who lost their way to heaven and fell down. Sounds like they died. They saw the light at the end of the tunnel for a moment and then they thought, oh no, we'll circle back. The connotations with death? I don't know if I'm feeling that. I don't know if I'm feeling that. And I don't necessarily think I was an angelic child. I think my parents liked me. I think they thought I was, you know, fair enough, this is alright. But I think I'm a flawed human being, and I think sometimes it can go a bit too hard the other way, you know? Like, oh, autistic people are perfect, they're God's gift, and like, yeah, I mean, we're just people. We just deserve the same amount of respect as everybody else. That said, you know, don't have to be seen as wonderful, marvelous, you know, all these adjectives. Just deserve a bit of respect, deserve to, you know, have a good life, human rights and all that. That's all we need. Okay, the next one is a close-up of a chubby little leg. Autism is part of my child. It's not everything he is. My child is so much more than a diagnosis. So I kind of understand why people, particularly in the past, would have felt the need to make these things, and I can see why they maybe still do. Like, people may, and people did, and people still do have a very negative image of what autism is, and I can kind of see this as a way to, you know, fight back against that. Don't just assume that my child is going to be completely incapable of doing anything just because they have an autism diagnosis. Don't assume that my child is stupid. Don't assume that my child can't understand what you're saying about them. Don't assume that my child has less value. Yeah, all of that makes sense, and all of that is a great message. Personally, I don't see autism as just a part of me. But I have had a very different experience where I lived my life and nobody ever brought up autism. I came to the conclusion that I was autistic myself and then sought out a diagnosis in my 20s, which is very different. I don't see it as part of me, and I feel like an autistic person. I am autistic. That is the way that my brain works. Obviously, every autistic person is different, and there's like wild variation and different profiles and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, most things that I do, positive or negative, my strengths, my weaknesses, decisions that I make, everything can be brought back to autism. It can be used to explain most of what I am. Sometimes that can be hard, and I think I found that a bit when you first realize that you could be autistic. You feel a bit like, oh, all these things that I thought were quirky and unique about me are just being reduced to a diagnosis, being medicalized and being seen as a disorder. Some of the things you love about yourself that you felt were special, like, oh, it's just a symptom kind of thing. I just think it takes time, like reframing your whole life and your whole experiences under this lens of autism. I feel okay about it now. I feel happy that, you know, all of my good things are to do with me being autistic. I feel proud to be autistic. I got a comment not too long ago that was like, she's so euphoric about being autistic. Is that a symptom? And I was like, it should be. And I I am euphoric about it. I'm so glad. I don't have to call myself weird anymore. I'm an autistic person. Everything that's good about me, all of my strengths are still there. I'm still a creative person. I'm still a person who has very strong values and cares very much about wanting to make the world a better place. I'm still that person. And it's because I'm autistic, and that's wonderful. It's just a type of brain. We have a whiteboard. Autistic today, genius tomorrow. You can't be autistic and a genius. Like, you're gonna have a change. There's gonna be a shift. Don't worry, I'll shed the autism soon. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't like the stereotype of, like, we're geniuses. I think it's because it's potentially linked to, oh no, don't worry, autistic people are worthwhile. They are worthy of existence because look, they sometimes have some great output. Capitalism, we can use these ones. You know? And also, like, maybe it puts pressure on you, or it makes you feel like you're inadequate when you're not someone who's like a maths genius and all these things. And it comes back to Rain Man, who the person it's based on was not actually autistic. You can look it up. You can read his Wikipedia. He was not actually autistic, and yet that gets to be the stereotype. So yeah, I can see why people don't love that. Like, doesn't matter if you're not a genius, you still deserve to live. Should I have to say this? I don't know, maybe I do. And you can be both autistic and a genius, can we just say? If someone is a genius, they're still autistic as well. Oh, but then the next one says having Asperger's, which is a term that a lot of us don't like to use anymore, but some people, it was what they were diagnosed with and they still like to use it, means I'm a genius in my own special way. And it says by an 11-year-old girl. Oh, I like her sense of self-worth. That's good. I'm not going to tear that one down. Yeah, I wish I'd had that sort of self-belief when I was 11, you know? Uh-oh. Okay, so it says, my child has autism. What's your kid's superpower? Is that one of the people from The Incredibles in the background? Hope we got the copyright for that. I mean, a lot of autistic people don't love this whole autism is a superpower thing. Was being ostracized at school and not knowing how to integrate myself and how to approach people and initiate friendships, was that a superpower? No, I'm not entirely sure it was, you know? Autism is a way of being. My brain has developed differently to how a lot of people's brains have developed, which means I have unique strengths and unique weaknesses. You know, I just appreciate a more balanced view. Sometimes hyperfocus can feel like a superpower. I can do a lot in a short space of time. However, as a result of that, I often neglect feeding myself, drinking enough water. There have been times where I did that to a very extreme extent, to the point where it was quite dangerous. There have been times where I really haven't been able to do basic things as a result of that, you know, wonderful hyperfocus. And again, am I only valuing the hyperfocus because it has good output? It means that I'm giving back to society in the form of using my brain to create things and stuff like that that are beneficial to other people. I suppose I like my sense of justice. I'm very into ethics and morality and trying to do the right thing and environmentalism and veganism. I like all those things about myself. I like them a lot. On the flip side, I can be quite obsessive and hold myself to like ridiculously high standards and put myself through a lot of stress for that and struggle to just unwind and relax and enjoy myself. There are two sides to every coin, as the neurotypical people might say. There's pros and cons to everything. It just gives you like kind of toxic positivity vibes. Like, you just want to kind of say like, calm down. But you know, like for some children, maybe that does help. Maybe framing it as a superpower does help. I mean, our sensory stuff is pretty creepy sometimes. Like, you can imagine a superhero, it's like super animal senses, you know? But again, can be really, really annoying and really debilitating as well. Like, I love working for myself, working from home. If I worked in a job, I would really struggle with not being able to control that environment and then tailor that environment to what I need it to be for myself. Yes, I have autism. Stare if you must. I'm not paying attention to you anyway. Okay, I don't know if I'm interpreting this in an autistic way, but what does this mean? Does it mean like I'm rising above? I don't care what you do, look at me, it's fine? Or does it mean like I'm not paying attention to you anyway because I'm oblivious to my environment? Because that's kind of how I initially interpreted it. I don't know. I mean, I do understand. Well, I don't understand because I don't have a child who has, you know, like very loud vocal stems and things like that, and you must be met with some pretty horrible attitudes from people, so I don't want to bash anybody. I'm so glad now for understanding myself and being able to understand autism. I'll see other people who now I understand they're autistic. Oh, they're autistic in the supermarket, like someone doing a very repetitive vocal stim, and I may have been like fearful in the past. Sometimes I see people out and about and I can tell they're enjoying themselves, and that's why they're stimming, and that's why they're making that sound. It's like, oh, it would be wonderful if everybody could have that level of understanding. There's probably still so much I have to learn about other autistic people because there's so much variation between us. I'm just drawn in on the next one to the glasses. I remember those glasses when I was in high school. They always had to be like a luminous colour, like luminous green or luminous orange. I remember them. They were a statement. Just a piece of plastic on your face. Did I have any? I don't know. I probably did. Asperger's. It's not a symptom. It's a feature. I mean, Asperger's isn't a symptom. It is, well, it was classed as a neurodevelopmental disorder, so it was the umbrella disorder that had symptoms. Am I just like overthinking this? I don't know. Or is it more like, if you notice something I do that is a symptom of my autism, it's not actually a symptom, it's a feature. I don't know. I don't like the word symptom. Like sometimes when I've been titling my videos, I'm like, oh, should I use symptoms? I'm trying to think of what people will search and what will help people to find the video and to find the information, which is hopefully useful. I don't know. I try my best. When I use the word symptom, I'm like, I don't like that. I much prefer traits or signs as well. I don't mind so much. Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's fine if it inspires you. A bit cringe. I just feel like even if something we do is not cool, is not as cool as those glasses with the little slats, you know, we still should be respected. We should respect the weird kids of this world, even if you don't know what someone's diagnosis is. You never know. You should respect them anyway, you know, as a person. You never know what's going on in someone's life when someone's in public doing something a little bit different, you know. You don't know what the story is there. The difference between high functioning and low functioning is that high functioning means your deficits are ignored and low functioning means your assets are ignored. Okay, I kind of like that. How do people feel about that? Obviously, I'm not a super big fan of saying like high functioning or low functioning. I think low functioning is kind of derogatory, and high functioning, like, I mean, it could just depend on the day. Like, I don't think I was high functioning when I was completing my GCSEs and I was eating next to no food, but because I can come across as relatively, let's use the word relatively, normal, and people never assumed I was autistic. They called me weird and a freak and all that stuff, obviously. They never assumed I was autistic, that then I would probably be like high functioning. And the fact that I've got married and that I can work in my own little weird way that I do, can move out, can live independently with my partner who does support me, but I think high masking is a better term. Like, you wouldn't always be able to tell, you wouldn't always think autism if you spoke to me, but I kind of get it. Yeah, like, it means your deficits are ignored, so when you're masking and you make it look like you're okay to everybody, people don't assume that you have any needs at all, so your needs are not met. I just a lot of the time didn't share what was bothering me because I didn't realize it was different to anything that everyone else was experiencing. Like my sensory stuff. I never told my mum that I hated going to fireworks shows. I went and enjoyed them and felt terrified the whole day before we went, and like I wanted to burst into tears the whole time, and I never told her, and she would never have forced me to go, but I never told her because I just very early age internalized this like get on with it mentality, like just grit your teeth, drag yourself through it. And then the problem is, even once you're diagnosed as an adult, because you've masked so well and people have got to know this version of you, they find it really hard, I think, to then reframe you as, oh, you're actually an autistic person. Like, you've lost the ability for people to make that first impression of you as, oh yeah, they're autistic, and instead they've got to know this masked version of you where everything just seems okay, and then you've kind of got to break the spell and be like, oh no, I'm actually not okay. And then maybe it can be a bit, I don't know, far-fetched for some people. This one, okay, I'm not sure about the weird creepy smiley face. Is that how I look when I'm masking and my face hurts from smiling? I don't know. Hope not. You all laugh because I'm different. I laugh because you're all the same. Did I have this on MSN? When MSN was a thing. Did you have like was it your profile picture that you could choose little icons? I swear I had this quote. And I swear it was like a little cutesy kind of maybe cartoon, sort of anime styled girl. No, I'm thinking of a different one. There was one where it was like a girl in a school uniform and it was like, I hate school. But I swear it was a different one with a different cutesy girl. I swear it had this quote. I've definitely seen this before, and I swear I've used it when I was around 11, 12 to express myself. Like, it does make me cringe. It feels a little bit like, I'm not like other girls. You're all just sheep. I mean, I did sometimes struggle because people would be very interested in things like boy bands. Everyone was super into One Direction and stuff like that. I'm sure there's a lot of autistic people who had like a special interest in One Direction and things, but I wasn't interested. I didn't enjoy their music. I've never really understood to a massive extent like fancying celebrities and wanting to be in a relationship with celebrities and stuff like that. So I don't know, I just couldn't really get in on it. I just felt quite different, and I suppose maybe that quote gave me a bit of self-confidence. I just think it didn't help. It made me look kind of stuck up, and like I thought I was better than everyone else, and actually I was really insecure, and kind of part of me would have really loved to be kind of in on it with everybody, but I just didn't know how to because my interests didn't align with most people, and that's fine. There was nothing wrong with them liking One Direction, and it was wrong of me to kind of feel smug like, ooh, yeah, look at me with my whatever the hell I was interested in going on MSN apparently, which was much more highbrow. Okay, this one's a quote from, it says Temple Grandin. I am different, not less, which is the title of Chloe Hayden's book as well. Temple Grandin is quite a famous autistic woman. She's wrote a lot of books and done a lot of talks about autism. Yeah, I mean, I think this is great. I'm different, not less. And I think that's all you kind of need to say. It doesn't need to be, I'm superhuman. I don't know what's going on here. Obviously, if you've watched a few of my videos, you know why this picture is highly offensive to me. That is a joke, but you'll know what I mean. What is this orange thing? Like, is that a thing that can happen? Does anybody know about peas in a pod? Is this a thing that peas in a pod can be orange? Am I stupid? I don't know a lot about peas. I'm not a pea expert for obvious reasons. I don't know, it looks a bit like there's an orange, a very small orange in that pod. Is it just a metaphor, or is that actually a thing that happens? You actually can get an orange pea, or is it like one that's not ripened differently? Can you tell I don't do anything to do with gardening or growing food? That would be really cool. You know, it's like one of these things where you're like, in another life, that could have been my special interest, and I'd be really good at that because I would do it all the time. Oh well, go back to what my actual interests are. You only have time for so many. Like, if you're gonna hyper-focus on stuff, you can't hyper-focus on everything. It's gotta be selective. It's a pain in the bum. There is a universe in which I'm great at playing guitar. There is a universe where I can speak loads of languages, which I think is a superpower, when you can just switch to another language like fluently. Then you can say you have a superpower. And a lot of autistic people are really good at languages. So like, maybe I could have been really good at languages. Damn it, you know? Can I live again? Can I have a do-over? What's going on? What is this person wearing? Oh, is it like a baby girl? I thought it was jeans, but I thought their jeans and their shirt were like the same color. But then I was like, what is going on with these jeans then? I thought this lighter bit here was like the jean pocket, and then I was just confused. I think it's like a baby grow. Then this hand of this child looks about like a 10-year-old child's hand. I don't know. Am I an expert in guessing ages by hand type? I just feel like a younger child has weird, you know, little pudgy hands. I'm just like everybody else. ... Only different. I feel like this is the kind of quote that doesn't speak to autistic people, because I feel like different kind of connotes that you are not like everybody else. I'm just like everybody else, only different. So you're different. I'm lost. This is a riddle. I think you're saying I'm different than everybody else, but I deserve the same amount of respect. Like, I'm a human, I have experiences, I live in a brain, I am the main character of my own life as much as you feel like the main character of your own life. None of us are the main character, by the way. We all live here together. Let's not destroy the earth. I live my own life in the first person. There is someone in here. That kind of thing. Do you know? Did you think that's what they mean? Were the outfit and teddy bear actually the same colour, or has that been edited? I don't know. Even for parents of children that are not on the spectrum, there is no such thing as a normal child. Yeah, I agree. Everybody is different. I think maybe that can be helpful to remind yourself sometimes if you're parenting an autistic child and there are particular challenges. Like, just parenting in general is hard and is challenging, and to be honest, in some ways, I was an easier child. I got on with my own thing. My mum was still worried about wanting to be there for me and doing things with me all the time. When she had to work, she felt upset that she couldn't be there with me. And I wish I could take that stress away from her, because I was like, I'm actually really fine doing my own thing and entertaining myself, because for a while, you know, it was just me and her. I mean, I don't think I slept very well when I was a baby. That wasn't good. And then obviously, there are different challenges. I think it is fair to acknowledge that having a child who is autistic is gonna bring some unique kind of specific challenges, be different depending on the child, for sure. Yeah, certainly in some ways it may be more challenging than parenting a neurotypical child. May may. Everyone's experience is going to be different. Every child is going to be different. So yeah, I kind of agree with the sentiment mostly. Why fit in when you were born to stand out? Dr. Seuss. I feel like, is Dr. Seuss like, is he problematic for some reason? I used to really enjoy the books Green Eggs and Ham. Why fit in when you were born to stand out? Yeah, I suppose so. Like, that's a great argument against masking as well. Let me look up Dr. Seuss controversy. Oh, some of his books were pulled for race. Was it for racism? Perpetuated harmful Asian stereotypes in a series of political cartoons. Autism rocks and rolls and spins and flaps and twirls. I feel like my eyes don't like this. Like, oh, it's got a yo-yo in the background. I feel like this visually is a bit much. Like, it makes me feel like slightly nauseous to look at. I'm not a fan of the text with also the background. I feel like maybe we should have, less is more. Like, the design on these is not, it's not 10 out of 10. That's okay. Autism rocks and rolls and spins and flaps and twirls. I like that it's like a stimming appreciation post, you know? I did spin and flap and twirl. Did I rock and roll? I did rock. Yes, I did. In the terms of like literally, yeah, I did rock. I still like a good rock. I remember my mum pointing out when I was just standing there rocking when I was pregnant, and she was like, oh, it's so funny that you do that now even though the baby's not here. It was like some intuitive motherly instinct. Now we know the truth. There's just a dash of tism. That was. Sorry to let you down there, Mum. I did also rock and roll. I had many a girl band with my cousins who were, you know, I'm not going to say forced, but persuaded to perform with me. So yeah, I suppose that I can't argue with that. I like a bit of stimming appreciation. There's nothing wrong with it. It is not a behavior that we need to be trained not to do, for sure. I still love a bit of flapping objects, flapping my hands. I do it every day, and it's one of the best parts of the day. Stim freely. It is lovely. Someone's holding a light bulb. Very stock image vibes. We love it. It seems that for success in science or art, a dash of autism is essential. Essential. A dash of it. By Hans Asperger. Okay, probably a lot of your alarm bells are ringing reading that one. Asperger's syndrome was often used to describe a type of autism. According to the National Autistic Society, the term derives from a 1944 study by Austrian pediatrician Hans Asperger. New evidence about his problematic history has recently been revealed and provoked a big debate. Hans Asperger was part of selecting which autistic children were worthy of life, essentially, and he believed that some autistic people were worth saving basically because of what they could contribute to society. So this quote saying that for success in science or art, a dash of autism is essential. Not great coming from him. Further controversy arose during the late 2010s over allegations that Asperger referred children to a Nazi German clinic responsible for murdering disabled patients. You can read a little bit more into that if you would like to. It's not great. I really don't think we should be quoting that man. For all we know, the first tools on Earth might have been developed by a loner sitting at the back of the cave, chipping at thousands of rocks to find the one that made the sharpest spear, while the neurotypicals chattered away in the firelight. I kind of like this one. I think it is kind of true. This reminds me of, who is it by? Is it by Susan Cain? There's a book called Quiet, which is about being introverted. And it just made me really think about why on earth do we not value introversion more in society? Why is extroversion seen as the ideal way to be? We want to be charismatic. So many things that we have in our life come as a result of somebody working quietly on their own. Why is that not valued? And why is that not allowed? And why do we all need to be social butterflies with heaps of friends if that's not what makes us happy? I was pushed, bring this up all the time, and I feel like I'm really salty about it, but in primary school, towards the end of primary school, so when I was about 10 or 11, there was an autistic boy in the class who was allowed to read in the classroom, who was diagnosed, and I saw that he was allowed to do this, and I asked, could I please do it? I begged to please be allowed to do it, because I just found the playtime quite overwhelming. It was an hour of enforced socializing every day. The whole day is basically socializing during classes as well, and this, it was just too much. I wanted that rest period, and I wasn't allowed it because I didn't have a diagnosis. I think the idea was that I would, not gain as many social skills. I think I would have benefited more from just being allowed to read, and would that have been the end of the world? It's a school. Should we not be encouraging people to read? Imagine how many more books I would have got to read, damn it, with an extra half an hour every day. Is that not a choice that I can make? It's supposed to be my free, relaxing time. It's supposed to be fun. you know? So why couldn't I choose to do that? And it's the idea that that is not, it's not seen as fun as socializing and playing. So that was like, no, you need to do this. You need to have fun our way. Why couldn't I have fun my way? And I do think like a lot of crap in this world, a lot of nonsense comes out of group projects. Do you remember group projects in school? You know, like always the loudest people had the worst ideas and, you know, everyone else would just run with it. Your ideas would never be listened to, or you'd end up in a group project where no one else wanted to do anything and then you ended up having to do it all on your own anyway, and then you might as well have just done it on your own and they wouldn't be able to benefit off your marks. It was like one or the other. Me and Lewis have a joke when we see TV adverts sometimes of like, that's the result of a group project, you know, when it's like a really cringy, like, who thought that that was a clever idea kind of thing, like, that must have been a group project. Like, you can kind of imagine them around the table having the meeting. Is it really such a bad thing to be a loner who has passions and things that they enjoy? And I think it's more acceptable for a man to be like that. Very red again. Society says I'm autistic. God says I'm perfect. So I'm personally not religious, so that might be why I don't love this. But again, it's just the whole idea that like you say I'm autistic. No, actually I'm perfect. There's nothing wrong with saying you're autistic. It's fine. I'd love to get to a point where it's not an insult. It's not a dirty word. It's not something to be feared. We're not perfect. We're flawed like everybody else. But I like the idea that, you know, there's nothing about you that needs to be fixed. You are created whole as a whole individual who deserves to be respected and has a place in society no matter what. Does this have poppies in the background, like kind of remembrance poppy? That's the vibes I'm getting from that. She may not be perfect, but she's 100% right. Again, these colours are upsetting my eyes. I feel like these colours are not sensory friendly. She may not be perfect, right? But she's 100% right. This is like perfect PDA vibes. Like, I may not be perfect, but I'm 100% right all the time. Everything should be my way. I'm only joking, I don't really feel like that, but my brain sometimes tries to make me feel like that, but no, I'm not always right, and I change my mind about things a lot. I think she means that she's not perfect, but she's, you know, just the way she's supposed to be, a little bit like the last one. It's a bit confusing, I'll have it. Oh gosh. So this is, somebody was telling me off in the video because I said acronym for PDA, and it's not an acronym, it's an initialism. Thank you. That's the kind of information that I love to acquire. So this is an acronym because it spells out autism. It's not PDA, it's PDA. So it's an initialism. Maybe we should call it PDA, because at least that doesn't mean public displays of affection. PDA. I always stop saying that, but I quite like the way it sounds. PDA. Absolutely unbelievable, tremendously inspirational, significantly mesmerizing. I hate these things. I hate them. I hate them because obviously the word came first and then you tried to find words that you could slot into them, and they did it all the time at school. They'd find like some stupid word. I think one of them was like rose for revision. I don't know what it stood for, which, you know, shows how it just didn't work. But like they'll just think of the most stupid things, and at least this one is just one word for each, because sometimes it's like a full sentence and the word like actually at the start that makes up part of the acronym, you know, that the first letter is actually not the main point that they want to make, and the actual word that should have been that is like towards the end of the sentence, but they just couldn't make it fit. It's just dumb. Whenever you're in like a workplace or a school or a situation that uses them, they always use loads of them, so you can't remember them. There's too many. Absolutely unbelievable. That could be negative. That to me is like absolutely unbelievable. Am I unbelievable? I don't know. Can you believe me? Let me know. Tremendously inspirational. I don't know. I don't love the whole idea of being an inspiration. It's kind of infantilizing. So they are significantly mesmerizing. They're not just a little bit, it's significant. The amount of mesmerization is significant. I suppose when I'm stimming, when I was, you know, getting into, you know, a good stimming session as a child, it might have been quite mesmerizing to watch. Maybe. I don't know. I'll have to ask my mom. Do you think I'm mesmerizing? It's a bunch of positive words. You've, you know, linked them back to the words autism. I think you fulfilled the brief. that you discussed within the group project. So this is from an autistic politician. I wouldn't be where I am today if I were neurotypical, because I would have been interested in social things. Having a little autism, not too much, just a little bit, helped me achieve my goals and not miss what most people thought I was missing out on. Yeah, I guess that's kind of like similar to the sentiment I was saying before. I mean, I think it's true. I think sometimes society benefits from the fact that we're not super interested in socializing, but regardless of whether there's a benefit at the end of it, we still shouldn't be forced to socialize if we don't want to and if that's not how we want to unwind. At the same time, loneliness is obviously a problem for autistic people, and sometimes we can kind of be caught between really wanting to do our interests and feeling kind of bored by the idea of doing anything else and disinterested by the idea of doing anything else, but then also needing people around you. I think maybe finding friends through your interests, a lot of people find that really beneficial, but then again, often we like to do things on our own. Let me know what you think. How do you balance, you know, kind of needing your alone time but also not wanting to be lonely? Because people might forget that about us. We do still value connection with other humans in moderation. If you want to watch a video of me reacting to some actually autistic memes made by autistic people, which might not be inspirational but are pretty funny and kind of make you feel like you're not alone. A lot of them are pretty relatable, or at least they were to me. Bye!